If a man's words can build you up, they can also break you down. Sometimes it's not the silence that tells you everything, it's the words he chooses. Because words reveal what's hidden in the heart. And if he keeps saying certain things to you over and over, it's not a slip of the tongue, it's a pattern. And that pattern can be the warning sign you've been ignoring. Today I want to show you the 7 things that, if a man ever says them to you, you should take them as your signal to leave. Immediately, when a man disguises disrespect as a joke, it can feel confusing at first. You laugh along because that's what you're supposed to do. He says something that stings, but then follows it with, "Relax, I'm just kidding," or "Don't be so sensitive." And so you smile through the discomfort, convincing yourself it's not that deep. But deep down, you know the difference between a playful tease and a remark designed to chip away at you. Real humor builds connection. Real humor leaves both people smiling. But when the punchline is always you, your looks, your intelligence, your choices, that's not comedy. That's cruelty dressed in laughter. The dangerous part is how subtle it starts. At first, it might be one offhand comment in front of friends, and you brush it off. But then it becomes a pattern. Suddenly, every conversation feels like a setup where you're waiting to be the target of the next sarcastic jab. And the more you allow it, the more he takes liberty with it, until disrespect becomes the rhythm of your relationship. It's no longer once in a while, it's every day. And what he's really telling you with each joka is that your dignity is negotiable. Let's be clear, a man who truly loves and respects you does not find amusement in your humiliation. He does not place you at the bottom just to lift himself to the top. He doesn't try to look clever at your expense. Because when a man is genuine character, he can be funny without being cruel. He can laugh with you, not at you. And you will never feel like the butt of the joke when his heart is in the right place. The real poison in these so-called jokes is the way they erode your self-worth over time. You start second-guessing yourself. You wonder if maybe you are too sensitive. You start lowering your standards of how you should be spoken to because you've been conditioned to laugh off what should have been addressed. And little by little, his words reshape the way you see yourself. That's how disrespect grows roots. It doesn't always come in the form of shouting or name-calling. Sometimes it sneaks in through laughter. And here's the truth, just kidding. Defense is not an excuse, it's a revelation. It reveals that he knows what he said was wrong. It reveals that he knows it crossed a line. Otherwise, he wouldn't feel the need to downplay it after it left his mouth. So when you hear those words, don't ignore the undertone. Don't ignore the discomfort that rises in your chest. That's your intuition warning you that what just happened wasn't harmless. When a man consistently uses humor as a weapon, he's showing you how he truly views you. He's showing you that he doesn't see you as his equal, but as his target. And if you stay, hoping he'll grow out of it, hoping he'll realize the damage of his words, you'll only find yourself sinking further into silence. Because a man who respects you does not need to be taught to respect you. It's already in him. So if he hides behind sarcasm, if he chips away at your worth while expecting you to laugh along, you need to understand something. That's not a man joking. That's a man revealing his heart. And once you see it for what it is, you'll know exactly why it's time to walk away. One of the clearest warning signs you can't ignore is when a man refuses to take responsibility for his actions and instead flips everything back on you. Think about it. He forgets something important, and somehow it becomes your fault because you should have reminded him. He lashes out in anger, but it's you who made him mad. He cheats, and suddenly the story is about how you weren't giving him enough attention. That kind of twisted blame is not just unfair, it's manipulative. It's a way of avoiding accountability while slowly convincing you that you are the problem. The longer you stay in that cycle, the more you begin to carry weight that doesn't belong to you. You find yourself apologizing for things you never did, saying sorry just to keep the peace, and trying harder and harder to meet standards that keep changing. And that's exactly how blame shifting works. It leaves you exhausted, constantly on edge, and questioning your own reality. You stop asking, why is he treating me this way? And start asking, what's wrong with me? That's the trap. And that's how he keeps control. A man who truly values a relationship knows the power of accountability. He knows how to own his mistakes, admit when he's wrong, and work to make things right. Because accountability builds trust, and trust is the foundation of love. But when a man chooses blame instead, he's telling you that protecting his ego is more important than protecting your heart. He's showing you that he will rewrite the story 100 different ways as long as he never has to look in the mirror. This kind of behavior is dangerous because it chips away at your sense of truth. Imagine being told over and over that something you know happened didn't actually happen, or that what you clearly saw with your own eyes isn't real. That's not just blame, it's gaslighting. And the longer you live in that space, the more you start doubting your own judgment. You hesitate before speaking up. You second guess your instincts. And eventually, you begin to accept less than what you deserve, all because you've been conditioned to believe it's your fault. But here's what you need to understand. Someone else's actions are not your responsibility. His anger is not your fault. His betrayal is not your burden to carry. His failure to show up as a man does not reflect your worth as a woman. The moment you accept blame that doesn't belong to you, you give him permission to keep treating you that way. And if he keeps blaming you, it means he has no intention of changing. Because in his mind, he's not the one who needs to. It takes strength to see through this manipulation, because love makes you want to give someone the benefit of the doubt. You want to believe he doesn't mean it, that maybe it was just stress or just a bad day, but patterns speak louder than excuses. If every mistake turns into your fault, if every issue somehow circles back to you, then you're not in a relationship. You're in a blame game that you can never win. You deserve someone who stands beside you, not someone who stands against you. Someone who says, that's on me, and I'll do better. Not, this is your fault, deal with it. Because love without accountability isn't love at all. It's manipulation wrapped in pretty words. And if he keeps blaming you for the mess he created, then you already know it's time to walk away. One of the most dangerous phrases a man can use in a relationship is when he throws out the words, I'll leave you, in the heat of conflict. Not because he's truly walking away, but because he wants to control you with fear. That kind of threat isn't love, it's leverage. It's him saying, do what I want, agree with me, stay in line, or I'll take myself away from you. And at first, it might just sound like frustration, like something said in the moment. But over time, it becomes a tool, a weapon that leaves you constantly anxious about where you stand. When love is genuine, disagreements don't come with ultimatums. Real connection is built on the understanding that you can fight, you can clash, you can even hurt each other with words sometimes, but the foundation of commitment doesn't shake every time there's a storm. If his first instinct is to threaten to walk away whenever he doesn't get his way, then what he's really telling you is that the relationship is conditional. He's telling you that your love only survives if you bend, if you sacrifice your voice, if you let go of your needs just to keep him from leaving. That's not partnership. That's manipulation. Think about what that does to your heart. You stop speaking up about the things that matter because you don't want to risk another threat. You silence yourself to keep him around. You compromise on your values, not because you've reached understanding, but because fear has taught you that his presence is fragile. And once fear drives your choices, love isn't at the center anymore. Control is. The truth is, a man who constantly says, I'll leave, is not trying to solve the problem. He's trying to avoid accountability while keeping the upper hand. He knows the power those words carry. He knows they sting. And he knows that if you're afraid to lose him, you'll do whatever it takes to make him stay. That's how he keeps you under his thumb, by dangling the threat of abandonment over your head like a shadow. But real love doesn't threaten to leave, it commits to stay. A man who is serious about you doesn't weaponize absence to win arguments. He shows up even when it's hard. He works through the issue even when he's frustrated. Because leaving is easy. Anybody can walk away. It takes strength, it takes love, and it takes integrity to stay and work through the mess without holding someone hostage emotionally. You have to see that every time he threatens to leave, he's showing you something important. He's showing you that he values control over connection. He's showing you that instead of facing his own shortcomings, he'd rather keep you fearful of losing him. And if you don't recognize that pattern for what it is, you'll find yourself shrinking smaller and smaller just to keep him close. A healthy relationship should never make you feel like you're one argument away from being abandoned. You should never have to walk on eggshells, worrying that one disagreement might end everything. Love should give you security, not insecurity. It should build peace, not fear. And if a man repeatedly uses the threat of leaving as a tool against you, then that's not love you're holding on to. It's control disguised as commitment. And when you see it clearly, you'll know it's time to walk away. One of the most painful things a man can do in a relationship is dismiss your feelings. You open up about what's bothering you, you share something that hurt you, and instead of listening, instead of leaning in with care, he brushes it off with words like, "You're overreacting," or "You're too sensitive." On the surface, it might sound small, almost harmless, but the damage runs deep. Because every time he tells you that what you feel doesn't matter, he's not just rejecting the moment, he's rejecting you. At first, you might try to argue back. You might defend your feelings, try to explain why something upset you, or give more examples so he understands. But over time, that fight gets exhausting. Slowly, you stop speaking up. You start swallowing your words, not because the hurt is gone, but because you've been conditioned to believe that expressing it isn't worth it. And that's how silence creeps in. That's how your voice, little by little, disappears in a relationship where it was supposed to be safe. The danger in having your feelings dismissed is that it trains you to doubt yourself. You begin to wonder, am I really making too big of a deal about this? Am I really too sensitive? And before you know it, you're questioning your own instincts, your own perception, your own truth. That's what invalidation does. It doesn't just shut you down in the moment, it makes you feel like you can't even trust your heart anymore. But here's the truth. Your feelings are not a weakness. They're not a burden. They're the most honest part of who you are. They are signals, telling you when something's off, when a boundary has been crossed, when love isn't being shown the way it should be. A man who truly values you will never treat those signals like noise. He will listen, even if he doesn't fully understand. He will lean in, even if he doesn't agree. Because love doesn't dismiss, it validates. When someone tells you you're overreacting, what they're really saying is, I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to take responsibility for how my actions made you feel. And instead of owning their part, they shift the spotlight back onto you, making the problem about your reaction rather than their behavior. That's not only unfair, it's manipulative. It keeps you chasing their approval while ignoring your own truth. And let me tell you something important. Your emotions are not negotiable. You don't need permission to feel hurt, to feel sad, to feel upset. Those emotions exist because something real triggered them. And the right man will make space for those emotions, not try to erase them. He won't call you dramatic for caring. He won't call you sensitive for wanting respect. He'll see that your feelings are a window into your soul, and he'll treat them with the tenderness they deserve. If you stay with someone who constantly dismisses what you feel, you'll end up living in a world where your heart has no place. And that's not love, that's survival. And you weren't made just to survive in a relationship. You were made to be seen, heard, valued, and cherished. So if he continually tells you that your feelings don't matter If every expression of your heart is met with dismissal instead of compassion, then you already know the answer. That's not love, and it's time to walk away. One of the most cutting things a man can say to a woman is when he compares her to someone else. It may sound casual in the moment. Why can't you be more like her? Or, other women don't have a problem with this. But make no mistake, those words carry poison. Because comparison doesn't inspire love, it breeds insecurity. It's a way of telling you that who you are isn't enough, and nothing will erode the foundation of a relationship faster than that. At first, you might try to shrug it off. You might tell yourself he didn't mean it the way it came out. You might even work harder, thinking if you change just a little, if you adjust to meet that standard he's set, then maybe you'll finally be enough in his eyes. But here's the truth. Comparison is a game you can never win. Because as soon as you bend to become what he says he wants, the goalpost moves again. One day it's how you dress. The next, it's how you speak. Then it's your career, your body, your attitude. Suddenly, you're chasing approval that was never meant to be yours in the first place. And the irony is, when a man compares you to someone else, he's not really complimenting her. He's revealing himself. He's showing you his immaturity, his lack of gratitude, and his inability to value the person standing right in front of him. Because a man who knows what he has doesn't look elsewhere for validation. He cherishes, he uplifts, he celebrates what's his. Only a man who doesn't understand love tries to measure one woman against another. The damage of those comparisons is that they don't just sting in the moment, they plant seeds of doubt that linger. You catch yourself wondering if you're pretty enough, smart enough, fun enough. You start questioning your worth, not because you don't know it deep down, but because his words keep chipping away at it. And the more you let those comparisons live in your mind, the less you recognize the strength, beauty, and uniqueness you bring into the relationship. Let's be real. Love doesn't sound like, "Why aren't you like her?" Love sounds like, "I wouldn't trade you for anyone." Love doesn't look at you and see lack. Love looks at you and sees home. When a man truly values you, there is no measuring stick, no scoreboard, no invisible competition with the rest of the world. There's only gratitude for the one woman who chose him. If you've ever been on the receiving end of comparison, you know how lonely it feels. It makes you question why you're even giving so much of yourself to someone who doesn't see the treasure right in front of him. And the truth is, the moment a man chooses to compare you, he's telling you he doesn't deserve you. Because real love isn't about looking over the fence. It's about watering the garden that's already his. So don't fall into the trap of believing you need to become someone else to keep a man's love. The right one won't ask you to change into another woman. The right one will love you as you are, without comparison, without condition, without hesitation. And if the man in your life uses comparisons as a way to diminish you, then you don't need to wait for him to realize your worth. You already know it's time to walk away. One of the clearest ways a man can show you he isn't serious is when his words are full of promises that never come to life. He tells you, "Someday we'll get there," or "I'm just not ready yet, but give me time." He sprinkles just enough hope into the conversation to keep you holding on, but when you step back and look at his actions, nothing is changing. That's the trick of empty promises. They sound good enough to keep you invested, but hollow enough to keep you stuck. It often begins with patience. You care about him, you believe in the potential of what you two could build, so you give him grace. You tell yourself that maybe he just needs more time, that maybe life has him distracted, that eventually he'll be ready to step up and follow through. And in those moments, his words feel comforting because they hold the picture of a future you want so badly. But the reality is, promises without action are just a delay tactic. They keep you in a waiting room where the door never actually opens. Over time, you start to notice the gap. You hear, "I'll do better," but see no change. You hear, "I'll be more consistent," but the effort fades after a day or two. You hear, I'll commit. But the commitment never arrives. And the longer you accept that pattern, the more it begins to drain you. Because deep down, you're not waiting for time, you're waiting for a version of him that doesn't exist. What makes this kind of behavior so dangerous is the way it plays with your hope. Hope is powerful. It's what keeps people pushing forward in hard times. But when it's placed in the wrong hands, it can also be used against you. He knows that as long as he gives you just enough to believe in the possibility of tomorrow, you'll overlook the reality of today. That's how you get trapped, not by his actions, but by the dream of who he could be if he ever lived up to his words. But here's what you need to remember: love is not built on someday. Love is proven in the right now. A man who truly values you won't keep you in limbo. He won't dangle the future like a carrot while giving you crumbs in the present. He'll show you with consistency, with presence, with effort that his words carry weight. Because when a man is serious, you won't have to wonder. You'll see it, you'll feel it, you'll know it. The truth is, no amount of waiting, no amount of patience, no amount of hoping can turn empty promises into real action. A man who wants to step up will step up. A man who wants to love you fully will love you fully. And if he's not doing that now, no amount of maybe one day should convince you to settle for less. Every time you accept empty promises, you trade your peace for uncertainty. You put your happiness on hold, waiting for a breakthrough that may never come. And that's not what you were made for. You weren't meant to sit in the shadows of almost, or not yet. You were meant to experience love that shows up, love that's present, love that doesn't just talk about the future, but builds it with you in real time. So if his words are always full of delays, if he keeps you hanging on with promises that never materialize, then you already know he's not giving you love, he's giving you excuses. And when excuses become the story, it's time to walk away.